At Thanksgiving dinner, Olivia's younger brother lifted the bottle of wine I had brought and held it against the light. You actually brought this? Ryan laughed as he set it back on the table. No wonder you've been married this long and still wear the same old coat. Olivia's mother, Margaret, joined in immediately. Evan is simply frugal. When a man doesn't have much ability, he has to turn saving money into a virtue. Laughter moved around the table. Olivia kept cutting the turkey. She did not stop them. Her father, George, tapped his glass. It's Thanksgiving. Everyone should name something they're grateful for. Then he looked at me. I'm most grateful that my daughter didn't lower her standard of living just because she married an ordinary maintenance engineer. Olivia finally raised her head. For 1 second, I thought she would tell them that was enough. Instead, she smiled as though she were rescuing me. Evan really doesn't know how to enjoy life. But he's honest. One word, honest, reduced everything I had carried for them to proof that I lacked ambition. I looked around the table. The house they were sitting in had survived because I had paid the mortgage every month. The new hardwood beneath their feet had been installed by a crew I found at cost. When George needed dental surgery the previous year, I paid the uncovered portion from my emergency savings. Ryan's first business had failed and destroyed his credit. The vehicle he now drove was registered in my name. They did not know any of that. Or perhaps they knew and had simply trained themselves to believe those resources came from Olivia. I set down my knife and fork. If we're all saying what we're grateful for, I have one too. Everyone looked at me. I opened my banking app. I'm grateful that tonight reminded me of something. A mortgage should be paid by the people who own the house. Margaret's smile disappeared. What does that mean? Beginning next month, I will no longer make your mortgage payment. George frowned. That is a private family arrangement. No, my name is not on the loan. My name is not on the deed. The payments were voluntary family assistance. That assistance ends now. Ryan scoffed. You're throwing a tantrum at Thanksgiving because we told the truth? I looked at him. Your vehicle is included. The use agreement expires at the end of the month. Return it according to the contract. His face changed at once. Olivia gave me that car. The title and loan are in my name. You pay a nominal monthly use fee. I will not renew the agreement. Olivia put down her carving knife. Evan, stop this. It's Thanksgiving. I'm not causing a scene. I'm ending responsibilities that never belonged to me. Margaret turned to her daughter. Have you two been fighting? Olivia lowered her voice. We'll discuss it at home. I stood. I'm finished eating. George's expression hardened. Sit down. You are in our home. Show some basic respect. I looked at him. For 5 years, I paid this house's mortgage for 3 of them. But you're right. This is not my home. I picked up my coat and left. No one followed me when the door closed. That clarified more than the insults had. Olivia and I had been married for 7 years. She was a leasing director for a commercial real estate company. I worked as an equipment engineer for the city's public transit maintenance division. My income was respectable. It simply did not look glamorous beside the industry events Olivia attended. My work clothes often smelled faintly of lubricant. My shoes were durable, not expensive. When Olivia first met me, she said she loved my stability. Over time, her family translated stability into a resource they could continue extracting. When Margaret and George purchased their house, they could barely cover the minimum down payment. Interest rates increased soon afterward. Revenue at George's small print shop declined. They came close to losing the property. Olivia cried and asked me to help. Only for 6 months, she said. Dad will sell some equipment and resume the payments. 6 months became a year. 1 year became 3. Eventually, they simply assumed the mortgage would continue to be withdrawn from the family assistance account I had created. I kept every record, not because I expected a future confrontation, because I was an engineer. I wanted every long-term expense to have a visible path. George had even signed a written acknowledgement stating that the payments were voluntary, could end at any time, created no ownership interest, and carried no promise of duration. He had laughed at me for being so cautious. Olivia had defended me then. Evan needs paperwork for everything. That document they mocked now protected me. I sat in my car for several minutes without starting the engine. My phone rang. Olivia texted, "Go home. I'll explain later." I replied, "I'm staying at a hotel tonight." She called repeatedly. I did not answer. Not to punish her. I needed to understand what I could lawfully do before speaking again. Humiliation did not give me the right to empty joint accounts. I could not stop paying necessary expenses on our marital residence. I could not take property titled in Olivia's name. What I could stop was the automatic payment from my personal account to her parents' mortgage. What I could recover was the vehicle registered to me under a written use agreement. What I could cancel were services paid solely from my separate funds. The clearer the boundary, the harder it would be to describe the consequence as revenge. In the hotel room, I downloaded 5 years of bank statements. I saved the family assistance acknowledgement, vehicle agreement, repair invoices, and insurance records. Then I canceled the next mortgage payment. The system warned me that the recipient might incur late fees. I confirmed. Next, I emailed George, beginning with the next billing cycle. I will no longer provide mortgage assistance. Please arrange payment independently. I do not request repayment of prior assistance. This notice ends only future voluntary payments. I copied Olivia and my attorney, Daniel. I had consulted Daniel several months earlier regarding estate planning. I did not immediately ask him to file for divorce. The marriage still required an answer. Had Olivia merely frozen at dinner? Or did she agree with the way her family defined me? Did she fail under pressure? Or had she become part of the arrangement? One dinner could not answer everything, but I stopped paying first. Only after losing my support would they reveal what they truly believed I was to them. Olivia arrived at the hotel after midnight. She stood outside my door, angry and pale. You really canceled it? I did not let her inside. Yes. My parents' payment is due next week. It's Thanksgiving. They have time to make arrangements. You know they don't have that much cash. It is their mortgage. We're family. When they humiliated me tonight, why didn't you remember I was family? Her mouth tightened. Ryan had been drinking. My parents were joking. You stopping the mortgage is what makes this serious. I watched her. So your conclusion is that I should keep paying? No. Not that you should stop now. When should I stop? She had no answer. When were they planning to resume responsibility? She looked away. Dad's shop is negotiating a new order. I had heard the same sentence for 2 years. Then he can use the contract revenue for the mortgage. Her voice became cold. Have you been waiting for an excuse to get rid of them? I have been waiting for them to resume carrying their own debt. They never intended to. You found one insult that lets you pretend your decision is righteous. The final part of my hope went quiet. She had not failed to notice the arrangement. She was defending it. Ryan returns the vehicle at the end of the month. You're taking the car too? I pay the loan and insurance. The agreement is clear. He needs it for work. He can buy one. Olivia stepped closer. Evan, your income is stable. Carrying a little more doesn't change your life. If they lose the house, it changes theirs forever. I looked at her. So you understand how serious the cost is. Why did you allow them to depend on me while calling me cheap and incapable? She said nothing. I ended the argument. Go home. We speak tomorrow through a marriage counselor. You aren't coming home tonight? No. Over a few words? It was not a few words. It was the first time I heard clearly how all of you have defined me for years. She waited. Then she left. George called the following morning. His tone was much gentler than it had been at dinner. Evan, everyone had been drinking. Don't take holiday jokes seriously. The mortgage notice is serious. He paused. You're going to harm Margaret. She has high blood pressure. If the payment is late, she won't sleep. Then pay it on time. We can't produce the money immediately. Sell the print shop equipment. If I sell equipment, how do I earn money? You said for years that selling equipment would allow you to resume paying. Silence. For the first time, I had challenged the statement directly. George had never intended to sell anything. He considered me a low-cost lender. No interest. No equity. No collection calls. He lowered his voice. You and Olivia earn well together. This amount is not a burden. Do you know the monthly amount? Olivia said it was under $2,000. I opened the statements. Mortgage, tax escrow, insurance shortfalls, and the maintenance reserve averaged close to $3,000. He was genuinely surprised. Repairs don't occur every month. I funded a reserve every month. That paid for your furnace last year. He did not thank me. That furnace also made you comfortable when you came to dinner. I laughed. Not in mockery. I had finally understood that these people could reinterpret every gift as something I had purchased for myself. The notice stands. Future communication goes through counsel. Why does a family matter need lawyers? Because you treated temporary verbal promises as permanent obligations. I ended the call. At noon, Ryan drove the vehicle to my workplace. He did not return it. He parked at the entrance to the maintenance yard and leaned on the horn until my coworkers looked outside. I walked toward him. You're trying to embarrass me? He demanded. The agreement ends at the end of the month. It isn't the end of the month. Then why are you here? He slapped a repair estimate onto the hood. The tires need replacement. If it's your vehicle, you pay. I read the agreement. Ordinary wear from use was assigned to the user. I showed him the clause. Ryan crushed the paper. You're disgusting. You write everything down. Who keeps evidence when helping family? Because it is written down. You may legally keep using it until the end of the month. Otherwise, I could demand it today. His face reddened. Olivia is going to divorce you. That is between us. She has been tired of you for years. You think paying a few bills makes you a man? She won't even take you to business events anymore. That sentence landed. During the previous year, Olivia had stopped inviting me to many company functions. She said they were boring. She said I disliked socializing. I had accepted the explanation. Perhaps she had simply been embarrassed by my work and clothes. Ryan mistook my silence for defeat. You live on a city paycheck. Any client Olivia works with is more successful than you. I took out my phone. Would you repeat that? He saw the camera and moved toward me. Turn it off. I stepped back. The maintenance yard had public safety surveillance. I did not need to fight him. Leave, or I call security. He pointed at me. I'll return it at the end of the month. Don't come begging me to keep driving it. I said nothing. He left. That afternoon, my bank sent an alert. Olivia had transferred money from our joint account. The amount remained below the single transaction restriction. The memo read parental emergency. She had the legal right to use jointly owned funds. I could not call it theft, but the amount could cover part of the mortgage. She was using marital assets to fill the opening left by my withdrawal. I messaged her. We need to discuss joint finances tonight. She replied. I'm working. Tomorrow. From now on, the joint account pays only necessary household expenses. Support for your parents requires written consent from both of us. She called immediately. You want to control my spending? Joint funds require joint decisions. You weren't like this before. Before, I believe the assistance was temporary. It has become permanent. They are my parents. I have a duty to care for them. You may use your separate income. Her voice rose. We're married. What separate income? The law recognizes separate and joint interests. We have always maintained personal accounts. You cannot argue that all income belongs to the marriage while treating your parents as automatic priority claimants. After several seconds, she asked, Have you decided to divorce me? I have decided to separate our finances. The marriage depends on what happens in counseling. She laughed quietly. You're using money to make me choose sides. No. I am returning the cost of your choice to you. She ended the call. 3 days later, Margaret published a long social media post. She did not name me. Every relative knew who she meant. Some men appear honest but keep a private ledger of every kindness. When a wife stops obeying, they punish the entire family financially. The comments filled with sympathy. People called me cold. They said Olivia had married the wrong man. Someone offered to organize donations. Margaret replied, We do not accept charity. I thought about 3 years of automatic mortgage payments. Public money was charity. Private money that arrived every month had become family responsibility. Daniel told me not to argue online. Preserve the page. If they claim financial abuse in a divorce action, the post helps establish the campaign of public pressure. Can I require Olivia to leave my house? You bought it before the marriage, but it has been the marital home. Absent a safety issue or court order, I do not recommend forcing her out. You can live separately. You must continue paying the property's essential expenses. I accepted that. Reality did not allow a spouse to disappear because one person said, The house is mine. When I returned for clothing, Olivia sat in the dark living room. You had an attorney contact me? To document the temporary financial boundaries. Daniel recommended separate accounts. Yes. My paycheck goes to my account. Yours goes to yours. The joint account holds enough for the house, utilities, and insurance. She looked at me. You are actually preparing to leave. I am preparing to stop carrying everything automatically. She pointed to papers on the coffee table. I reviewed 5 years of expenses. Why did you never tell me you paid this much for my parents? You knew about every payment. I didn't know the total. You established the automatic withdrawals. You arranged repairs. I thought it was occasional help. The bank notified you every month. You never looked. Her face became uncertain. Is the total really that high? It does not include the depreciation and insurance cost of Ryan's vehicle. My mother told me Dad had been reimbursing you. He reimbursed one website expense for the print shop. That was not mortgage repayment. Olivia closed her eyes. For the first time, she saw that her family had not merely depended on me. They had hidden the scale of the dependence from her. Still, she said, you should not have announced it at dinner. You humiliated them. When they humiliated me. Where was that sensitivity? I didn't react fast enough. No. You said I didn't know how to enjoy life. Her shoulders lowered. I wanted the moment to pass. You chose their comfort. The price was my humiliation. She did not defend herself. I pulled the suitcase toward the door. If I make them apologize, will you resume the payments? That question ended what remained of my uncertainty. She still saw the problem as one insult exchanged for one payment. No. The mortgage was never meant to become my permanent responsibility. Her expression changed. Then what would an apology even accomplish? An apology acknowledges harm. It does not purchase the next month of assistance. I left. 1 week later, George made the mortgage payment himself. He sold an unused paper cutter from the print shop. Margaret wrote in the family group that they had been forced to sell the tools of their livelihood to satisfy Evan's pride. I did not respond. The interest rate adjusted in the second month. The payment increased. George began asking Olivia for money. She paid part from her separate savings. She did not take more from the joint account because Daniel had issued a financial preservation advisory to both sides. It was not a court freeze. It warned that unusual transfers during a marital dispute might be traced during later division. Olivia cared about her professional reputation. She did not want a record suggesting asset concealment. Ryan returned the vehicle in the third month. The mileage exceeded the expected amount. There was a dent in the passenger door. He had reported no accident. I requested an insurance inspection under the agreement. The insurer determined that the dent came from a parking lot collision. The repair cost fell below the deductible. I would have to pay and recover the amount through small claims. Daniel asked, "Is it worth it?" I looked at the estimate. Apply the agreement. It is not about the money. It is about ending ambiguity. I filed. Ryan insulted me in the family group after receiving the claim. He said I had sued family over a few $100s. The court considered only evidence, delivery photographs, return photographs, the use agreement, and the repair assessment created a complete chain. Ryan could not deny it. The judge ordered installment payments. He did not lose everything. No dramatic confession occurred. A cost I had always absorbed returned to the person who created it. That enraged him because he had confused family with immunity from responsibility. Olivia did not ask me to withdraw the claim. She sent one message. "I didn't know he treated the car that way." I replied, "There is a great deal you did not know." She said nothing else. Marriage counseling began in the 4th month. The counselor did not begin by asking whether we still loved each other. She asked us to list our practical contributions. Olivia wrote emotional support, social relationships, holiday planning, and career advice. I wrote housing, insurance, repairs, parental assistance, vehicles, taxes, and daily household administration. The counselor placed the pages together. "You both believe you carried a large share, but you define family differently." "My parents are family," Olivia said. "They can be family," I answered. "They are not unlimited priority claimants on our shared finances." "Did the mortgage assistance have an end condition?" the counselor asked. Olivia was silent. Then she admitted, "No. I always assumed Evan would continue. What if Evan's income declined? We would reduce it. Who would decide?" She could not answer. We had never truly made the decision together. She presented her family's need. I solved it. That arrangement protected her from becoming the ungrateful daughter who said no. It allowed me to believe that caring enough would earn respect. Both of us received an emotional benefit, but the financial cost remained mine. After the session, Olivia followed me into the parking lot. "I know I was wrong." "Which part?" "I never reviewed the expenses. I failed to defend you at dinner." "What else?" She frowned. "What answer do you want?" "I don't want to prescribe one. I want to know whether you understand why I will not restart the payments." She thought. "Because you don't want them using you. And because it isn't your responsibility." It was the first time she said the second part. I nodded. Yes. Hope appeared in her eyes. "Can we go home and talk?" "Counseling needs to continue." The hope dimmed. She still believed acknowledging the error should quickly restore the relationship. Trust did not operate on her schedule. Meanwhile, George's print shop developed a cash flow crisis. My withdrawal did not create the underlying problem. The equipment was old. Customers had moved toward digital services. George had spent money needed for transition on renovating the house because he believed the mortgage was covered. When assistance ended, the structural weakness became visible. He applied for refinancing. The bank reviewed income and debt ratios. The irregular family support he had reported over several years could not be treated as dependable income. The application was denied. George blamed the bank. Then he blamed me. Finally, he blamed Olivia for failing to persuade her husband. Margaret told her daughter, "We raised you. We need you to save one house. Why don't you sell and buy a smaller one?" Olivia asked. Silence followed. It was the question she had never asked before. Margaret began crying. "Your father's entire dignity is in this house. What will the neighbors think?" Olivia finally understood. They were not terrified of losing shelter. They were terrified of losing status. They preferred that I carried the cost indefinitely rather than live at a level their income could support. Olivia described the call and counseling. "Why did you never suggest selling?" the counselor asked. "Because I was afraid they would blame me. So you allowed Evan to carry the cost of refusing them," Olivia cried. "Not because I had suddenly become more valuable. Because she finally saw the avoidance concealed inside what she had called filial duty. After the session, she said, I should have spoken to them years ago. Yes. I still worry about them. Worry is not wrong. Turning worry into another person's permanent obligation is. In the 5th month, George listed the house. Not because one sentence from me destroyed him. The bank rejected refinancing. The print shop declined. Olivia ended unlimited support. Ryan had no money. Several forces arrived together. Margaret resisted the sale. The day before the listing, she came to my workplace carrying an apple pie I once liked. "Evan, can we talk?" I took her to a public meeting area. She pushed the pie toward me. "We were wrong." George spoke badly. Ryan was immature. I deleted the post. "What do you want from me?" Her eyes reddened. "1 more year. A forced sale will cost us too much. We can wait for the market. Why didn't you sell last year? Things were not this bad." "Because I was paying." She did not deny it. "We can sign a loan agreement." "What repays it?" "The house will appreciate." "What if it doesn't?" "You would not let Olivia's parents become homeless. After selling, you have enough equity for a down payment on a smaller home. You will not be homeless. You simply cannot keep this house." Her real emotion surfaced. "You want to downgrade us?" "No. Income determines sustainable living standards." "I do not." She stood. "You never considered us family. Family does not erase years of help because future payments end." She took the pie and left. That evening, Olivia called. "Mother went to see you." "Yes." "She said you humiliated her?" "The meeting area has cameras." "I did not." Olivia was silent. "I believe you." It was the first time in months that she chose evidence over her mother's account. "It came too late." "Thank you? That's all? You did what you should have done." Her voice tightened. "You would have comforted me before. I always carried the emotional fallout from your conflicts with your parents. You need to process that yourself now." She did not argue. The house sold several weeks later. The price was below Margaret's expectation, but it cleared the loan and left substantial equity. They moved into a smaller townhouse. The mortgage fit George's income. Margaret told relatives that I had forced them out. Then the new bills arrived. Heating cost less. Property taxes were lower. George no longer lost sleep before each mortgage payment. What they had lost was not safety. They had lost an appearance maintained by my money. Ryan struggled more. Without my vehicle, he bought a used car at a high interest rate because of his damaged credit. He began arriving at work consistently. He stopped calling out for minor reasons. He had once mocked me for living on a stable paycheck. Now he discovered stability was why banks offered reasonable rates. He never apologized to me. At a family gathering, he asked Olivia, "Did Evan always know we couldn't afford that house?" "He always knew. He simply never said it." "Then why did he keep paying?" "Because he loved me." Olivia later repeated the conversation to me. Her eyes filled. "I thought you paid because you were more capable. Now I understand you were buying peace for me." "I made mistakes too." She stared. "What mistake did you make?" "I never demanded an end date. I swallowed every resentment. I called silence consideration. I allowed everyone to believe I had no limit." Olivia cried. "Can we begin again?" I did not answer immediately. We had been in counseling for 6 months. She had changed. She no longer transferred unlimited money to her parents. She reviewed our joint finances. She told friends and colleagues that ending the mortgage assistance was the result of a long-standing boundary failure, not financial abuse. In the family group, she wrote, for several years, Evan paid most of my parents' mortgage and repairs. We did not show proper respect. The comments made at Thanksgiving were wrong. I failed to stop them and hurt him as well. Margaret accused her of humiliating the family to please a husband. Olivia did not delete the message. For the first time, she paid the cost of standing beside me. Had that happened in the first month, it might have changed my answer. After 6 months, I saw something deeper. Olivia was not a bad person. She loved me, but she had required me to carry the burden that allowed her to remain the good daughter in her original family. Whenever conflict arrived, she sacrificed me first because she trusted that I was the most stable and least likely to leave. That pattern could not be repaired by one apology. Do you want another chance because you understand me? Or because you fear losing the marriage? Both. What happens if I say no? She stopped breathing for a second. I will accept it, but I will regret it. What will you regret? That I allowed the person who loved me most to sit like a stranger at my family's table. The sentence reached me. I still said, I have decided to divorce. Olivia closed her eyes. Tears moved down her face. She did not accuse me. She did not use her parents, our memories, or our age to force me back. After a long time, she nodded. All right. We divided property under the law. I had purchased our marital home before the marriage. Joint income had reduced the loan balance during the marriage. Olivia was entitled to the marital portion of that equity. An independent appraiser calculated it. I paid her share. She did not seek an inflated portion of my retirement account. I did not demand repayment of the mortgage assistance to her parents. Those payments had been voluntary. Ending future assistance did not transform past gifts into debt. We sold some shared furniture. We retained personal belongings. No one took everything with one sentence. The divorce lasted months. Legal fees, appraisal costs, and moving expenses were real. I delayed a professional certification program. Olivia moved into a smaller apartment. For the first time, she managed insurance, repairs, and taxes alone. She once texted, "The water heater broke." Seconds later, she deleted it and sent, "Sorry." I contacted property management. She was beginning to accept that I was no longer her automatic solution. Before the divorce became final, we attended one last counseling session. Is there anything left unsaid? The counselor asked. Olivia looked at me. I used to believe Evan's greatest quality was reliability. Then I began treating reliability as proof that he would never leave. So I placed him last again and again. I did not understand that reliable people become exhausted too. He did not suddenly become cruel. I disappointed him slowly, in hundreds of ordinary moments. Hearing it hurt. She understood completely. Understanding and reconciliation were not the same decision. I treated contribution as proof too. I said, I thought if I carried enough, everyone would respect me. Respect cannot be purchased through permanent payment. I should have said no much earlier. Do you forgive each other? The counselor asked. I forgive her. Olivia laughed through tears. But you are still leaving? Yes. She nodded. I forgive you for announcing it at the table. At the time, I believed you had destroyed my family. Now I know you only stopped hiding the problem for us. Margaret did not attend the day we signed the divorce documents. George sent me a short email. Thank you for the last several years. It was the first direct expression of gratitude he had ever given me. He did not ask me to return. He did not accuse me. I replied, You're welcome. Ryan did not contact me. Later, I heard that he sold the high-interest car and began commuting by train. The city transit system was imperfect. It was more reliable than he had imagined. During one maintenance delay, he told a friend, My brother-in-law used to repair these systems. Former brother-in-law? Ryan became quiet. None of those changes felt like victory. When I stopped absorbing every consequence, everyone had to face their own life. George reduced the print shop and moved toward custom small batch work. Margaret learned household budgeting. Ryan began repairing his credit. Olivia learned boundaries with her parents. I learned that solving other people's problems was not the only form of love. During the first winter after the divorce, I received a banking dispute notice. George claimed that years of payment had reasonably led him to believe the assistance would continue. His attorney argued that repeated conduct could create a family promise on which he relied. Daniel did not laugh. Anyone may present the argument. Long-term conduct sometimes matters. But you signed a written acknowledgement. Each annual confirmation states that the assistance could end at any time. I had asked George to sign annual confirmations for tax record-keeping. he complained each year. You treat family like clients. Those documents proved everyone understood the payments were not permanent. The bank did not find that I had an ongoing obligation. George withdrew the claim. It did not end in one afternoon. I paid legal fees. I missed half a workday. I organized years of emails and payment descriptions. Restoring a lawful boundary was not as simple as clicking cancel. You had to prove you never made the opposite promise. You had to endure people redefining old generosity as debt. When Olivia learned of George's claim, she became genuinely angry with him for the first time. Evan paid for years. How can you say he owes you? If he hadn't stopped, we would not have sold the house, George answered. If he had never paid, you should have sold it years earlier. George had no answer. Olivia did not speak to her parents for a month. In the past, silence from them terrified her. She would buy gifts, transfer money, and apologize first. This time, she did not. I think about calling every day, she told the counselor. But if I carry the discomfort first, they never have to change. Does refusing to rescue them mean you do not love them? Olivia thought. I used to believe that. Now I think helping them avoid reality is also a form of disrespect. She later told me the same thing. I did not reverse the divorce, but I acknowledged that her change was not a performance. She continued choosing the difficult behavior after she had lost any chance of being rewarded by me. Real remorse is not crying and saying you understand. It is refusing to repeat the pattern when no reward remains. I had my own relapse. Late one night, Margaret went to the emergency department with chest pressure. Olivia called from the hospital. She remained silent after I answered. I heard announcements in the corridor. What happened? Mother is being examined. I don't know why I called you. In the past, I would have driven there immediately. I would have handled insurance, doctors, transportation, and everyone's fear. My body was ready to stand. I stopped. What specific help do you need? After a long silence, she said, none. The hospital is handling it. Then wait for the results. All right. The test showed anxiety. Not serious disease. The next day, Olivia wrote, thank you for not coming last night. I read it several times. She was sincere. If you had come, I would have handed everything to you again. I needed to learn that I could stand there myself. Part of me finally released. I had always feared leaving would cause her to collapse. Long dependence does not mean a person lacks ability. Sometimes it means you always step in before they can use it. She suffered after I stopped. She also grew. So did I. I had organized every account clearly. I had never expressed my hurt clearly. I understood financial boundaries. I had failed at emotional ones. The complete story was not that I was entirely right, and everyone else entirely wrong. My silence allowed an unreasonable structure to continue. Their entitlement and contempt made it worse. Olivia's avoidance removed protection from the marriage. Thanksgiving was only the final thread. When it snapped, every hidden force became visible. The following Thanksgiving, I attended no extended family dinner. I roasted a small turkey in my apartment. My neighbor Grace knocked to borrow a baking tray. She coordinated events at the neighborhood library. We had known each other for several months. There was no instant romance. No perfect woman appeared the moment I divorced to prove that I had won. Grace noticed the single-place setting. You're spending the holiday alone? Yes. Would you mind one more person? I smiled. Only if you promise not to evaluate the price of the wine. She did not understand the joke. She raised the bottle of juice she had brought. I only evaluate whether turkey is dry. We ate an ordinary meal. No humiliation. No invoice. No one hinted that I should support another household. The peace satisfied me more than any public reversal could have. After dinner, Grace asked what I was grateful for. I considered it. I'm grateful I learned that stopping a gift is not cruelty. When help continues too long, everyone forgets whose responsibility it replaced. She did not ask for the history. That sounds like an expensive lesson. It was. Worth it? I looked out the window. Yes. The next spring, I completed the professional certification I had postponed. The transit department promoted me to lead its equipment reliability team. I did not become suddenly wealthy. No hidden identity was revealed. Years of stable work were finally recognized. The position paid more. I did not use the increase to prove anything to anyone. I bought a well-fitting coat because the old one had finally worn out. I never threw away the Thanksgiving wine. I had taken it with me when I left Margaret's house. It remained at the back of a cabinet. One weekend, Grace and I opened it. It was ordinary, slightly sour. She took a sip. They were right about one thing. It isn't very good. That's what they said that night. You kept it all this time? At first, it reminded me of what happened. Now I don't need it. We poured the rest into a stew. The cheap wine became part of dinner. That felt like the proper ending. Something that carried humiliation did not need to be preserved as proof of injury. It could be used, digested, allowed to leave my life. Olivia later mailed the holiday card. She did not ask to reconcile. This year my parents made every payment on time. Dad's shop is profitable again. Mom has learned to manage a budget. Ryan's credit is improving. I know none of that was ever your responsibility. Thank you for everything you did. I placed the card in a drawer. I did not reply. Not from resentment. Our relationship had ended. Some gratitude does not require reopening a door. Months later, I saw Olivia at a public business event. She was presenting a community commerce seminar for her company. She appeared calmer. Afterward, she approached. Evan. Hello? She looked at Grace beside me. She did not ask who she was. She nodded politely. Dad asked me to tell you he transferred the last repair reimbursement into the old account. That amount was not legally owed. He wanted to pay it. I checked later. The sum was small. The memo contained 2 words. Thank you? I did not return it. Allowing someone to accept delayed responsibility was also a boundary. Olivia asked. Are you doing well? Very. She smiled. I'm glad. She did not say she was doing well. I could see she was rebuilding. We separated at the entrance. No embrace. No tears. Neither of us looked back. That evening, Grace asked, was that your former wife? Yes. Do you still love her? I thought carefully. I love the parts of that marriage that were real, but I will never return to it. Grace nodded. Both answers can be true. It took me a long time to learn that. The real satisfaction was not watching people who mocked me beg. It was not making them lose a house, employment, or dignity. They did not become homeless. They did not go bankrupt. No single sentence destroyed their lives. They lost the person who had been absorbing the consequences for free. Reality began working again. Mortgages required income. Vehicles required maintenance. Status required money. Choices required responsibility. I paid a price too. I lost a marriage. I paid the property settlement. I carried legal fees. I delayed career plans. I faced loneliness and judgment. Those costs purchased the return of control over my life. I no longer needed sacrifice to prove kindness. I no longer confused silence with maturity. I no longer called limitless giving love. At another Thanksgiving, Grace and I invited several friends. Everyone brought one dish. Someone brought cheap bread. Someone brought a grocery store dessert. No one evaluated the price. Before dinner, we each named something we appreciated. When my turn came, I looked around the table. I'm grateful that everyone here is responsible for what they bring. They laughed. They thought it was a joke. Only I knew what the sentence meant. I raised my glass. The wine was still not expensive. This time, no one used it to measure my worth. Fine snow fell outside. The room was warm. I remembered the Thanksgiving table years earlier. They called me cheap. I used silence and money to preserve their appearance. That night, I stopped. Stopping the mortgage was only the first act. What I truly stopped was explaining, concealing, and paying for everyone else. After that, their lives belonged to them again, and mine finally belonged to me.